Astrocytes, often overshadowed by neurons in discussions of brain function, are emerging as central regulators of cerebral energy balance, particularly through their management of sugar metabolism. These glial cells are not only structural supporters, but also dynamic metabolic partners that supply neurons with critical substrates for energy production. A key feature of their role lies in their ability to store and metabolize glycogen, the brain's primary carbohydrate reserve. Under normal conditions, this tightly regulated system supports neuron survival and synaptic fidelity. Yet under stress, such as during sleep deprivation, injury, or neurodegenerative disease, dysregulation in astrocytic sugar metabolism can severely undermine neuronal function, potentially contributing to synaptic loss, cognitive impairment, and eventual neurodegeneration. Unlike neurons, which lack substantial glycogen stores, astrocytes maintain a modest, yet strategically vital reserve of glycogen that can be mobilized during energy-demanding situations. This capacity becomes especially important during transient metabolic challenges, such as periods of intense neuronal firing, hypoxia, or glucose scarcity. When neurons require more energy than is immediately available through blood glucose, astrocytes initiate glycogenolysis, breaking down glycogen into glucose, 1-phosphate, which is then converted into lactate. This lactate is shuttled to nearby neurons through monocarboxylate transporters, MCTs, where it serves as an alternative oxidative fuel in the so-called astrocyte neuron lactate shuttle. This mechanism provides not only immediate energy, but also helps stabilize neuronal membrane potentials and sustain synaptic activity. However, this system's reliability depends heavily on the precise regulation of astrocytic sugar metabolism. When that regulation is disrupted due to aging, inflammation, insulin resistance, or oxidative stress, the consequences for neurons can be profound. If glycogen is not mobilized effectively during critical windows, neurons may suffer energy deficits that compromise action potential propagation, neurotransmitter recycling, and plasticity. Conversely, if glycogen breakdown is excessive or poorly timed, it can lead to an overproduction of lactate, extracellular acidosis, and intracellular calcium dysregulation, which further destabilizes neuronal signaling and accelerates damage. Moreover, abnormalities in astrocytic glucose uptake and glycolysis can also impair the replenishment of glycogen stores. Astrocytes depend on glucose transporters, particularly GLUT1, to absorb glucose from the bloodstream. In conditions like chronic hyperglycemia or brain insulin resistance, the functionality of these transporters can be impaired, reducing glucose availability to astrocytes even in the presence of systemic glucose surplus. This paradox leaves neurons doubly vulnerable, starved for energy, and exposed to elevated oxidative byproducts from inefficient or dysregulated metabolism. Over time, the inability of astrocytes to maintain appropriate metabolic support can lead to a decline in synaptic integrity, evidenced by weakened long-term potentiation, reduced dendritic spine density, and disrupted neurotransmission. This vulnerability is magnified during neuroinflammatory states, where activated astrocytes may shift toward a reactive phenotype. In this state, they often reprioritize their functions, focusing more on immune signaling than energy metabolism. Pro-inflammatory cytokines like TNF-A and IL-1S can further impair glucose uptake, mitochondrial function, and glycogen turnover, effectively cutting off neurons from their essential metabolic lifeline. In neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's, this scenario plays out visibly. Reactive astrocytes near amyloid plaques often show signs of impaired glycolytic metabolism and diminished capacity for glycogen support, which correlates with local synaptic loss and neuron death. Astrocytic sugar metabolism also plays a less obvious, yet equally important role in buffering the extracellular environment. During intense synaptic activity, neurons release excess potassium and neurotransmitters like glutamate. Astrocytes help clear these substances, a process that demands substantial energy. Without adequate ADP supply, partly fueled by glycogen reserves, astrocytes struggle to maintain this homeostasis, leading to excitotoxicity, altered ion gradients, and a breakdown in the delicate microenvironment that supports synaptic function. Thus, energy metabolism in astrocytes is not just a matter of cellular housekeeping, it's a gatekeeper function that directly influences neuronal survival. While much remains to be clarified, emerging therapeutic strategies are beginning to explore how boosting astrocytic metabolism might help stabilize or even reverse cognitive decline. Enhancing lactate shuttling, upregulating GLUT1 activity, or supporting glycogen turnover through targeted metabolic interventions could all represent viable paths toward protecting neurons in aging or diseased brains. Dietary approaches like ketogenic diets, which provide alternative fuels, or pharmacologic agents that improve insulin sensitivity and mitochondrial function, may indirectly support astrocyte performance and improve neuronal resilience. Still, these possibilities must be approached with nuance. Astrocytic metabolism is a double-edged sword. While providing life-sustaining fuel during crisis, it can also produce damaging byproducts if dysregulated. Therefore, any intervention must aim not at maximizing glycogen breakdown, but at restoring the flexibility and responsiveness of the system, ensuring that energy is available when needed, in the right form, and without tipping into toxicity. In sum, the metabolism of sugar in astrocytes is not a peripheral detail of brain function but a central determinant of neuronal health. It represents a dynamic interface between metabolic resilience and vulnerability. Disruptions in this finely tuned system can begin subtly, long before symptoms of cognitive decline become evident, yet they set the stage for more serious neurological deterioration. Understanding and preserving the capacity of astrocytes to regulate glycogen and glucose metabolism may ultimately prove to be one of the most effective ways to support long-term brain function and prevent the slide into neurodegenerative disease.